Shalom. This is Sister Yishraya again. And as promised, I'm doing a follow-up video to my first video called Budgeting 101, and just kind of give us 3 points on how to get out of debt. Okay, so if you can see this, which I hope, what it's showing you is you listing out your expenses, listing out how much the expenses are and what days that those expenses are due. And then any income that you bring into the house, it can be yours, and then listing your husband's. Here I just have one income and an income from internet sales listed. So work income and internet sales and how much those bring in monthly, and then how much you bring in. And again, this is the net income. So it's the income after taxes and any deductions. It's what you actually bring home. And then lastly, if you can see here, is showing us that we actually have savings when we stick to our budget with the income that we have. In this outline, you actually have money you can save. Okay, and you figure that by how much your income is and subtract it by your monthly expenses to get savings. Again, revisit Budgeting 101 video so that you can understand what this means. I just wanted to kind of write up a sample budget list for starters. But this video is about get out of debt. Get out of debt. Okay. So I'm going to open up by reading Proverbs 22:7. And Proverbs 22:7 reads, "The rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender." One should want to loose themselves from the bond of debt and perfect their ability to budget for their households. It's going to be important, right? We got gas prices going up, food prices going up, and more so, right, rent going up. And if you own a house, you'll notice that your taxes and insurance for your homes, those prices are going up. So being able to get out of debt and being able to budget your household income are going to be very important. Psalms 37:21, and that will read, "The wicked borroweth and payeth not again, but the righteous showeth mercy and giveth." Okay, so we have the wicked is always trying to borrow, not reliable, and won't pay that money back, but the righteous, they show mercy and they give it. So when we talk about, if you watch the Budgeting 101 video, it kind of talks about the ability to be able to do for others and to save and have additional money so that you can provide for your household and outside of your household. So that's important, okay? So the 3 points I want to bring out, the first one is, if you have never run your credit reports, I suggest you start there. You can't deny the fact that we have credit, right? We have mortgages, we have houses, we have cars that we're paying car notes on. So we want to see what activity we have on those things. So you want to run your credit report. And you can do this for free from all 3 credit reporting agencies once a year. And so you run your credit report so you know where you stand, what you owe. And when you review this report, you'll be able to get in contact with these lenders so that you can work with them to pay these things off. And then you can also see if anyone's been misusing your information to establish other credit, So the next tip I want to give is paying off your small debts first, right? The ones that are $100, $50, $25, and it happens. You might have went to the hospital and they had a $50 or $100 copay. I don't know what they call it at the hospitals. That you still owe, or a credit card from college that was $500 you never paid off, borrowed money from a family member, $300. It's time to pay it off, right? You want to get those small debts out of the way. Okay. The third tip I have is pay off your larger debt using your taxes. Okay, so like I said in my last video, and I'll say it again, I can share this information because I have experience in these areas personally, okay? I will say that I went to college, I accrued debt, you know, and then life happened. I ended up getting my home and there's children and things like that. So I had debt. And what I had to do, and I committed to doing it, it was 2 or 3 years worth of my taxes I did not use for myself or my children. I paid off all of my debts, that word. I paid off all of my debts, okay? The materialistic things that you normally would waste money on, those things can wait in exchange for breaking these bonds, okay? Breaking these bonds. Bonds, if we define bond is an agreement with legal force, meaning if you owe somebody this money, they can come after you legally for it. And you might end up having to pay triple or, quadruple what it is that you originally had to owe them because of court costs and other things. So you want to definitely be able to break yourself from these bonds which are linked to debts, okay? And I'm not talking about the debts you have like your mortgage or your car loan, right? Because you have to continue to pay on those until they're paid in full. But I'm talking about debts and bills that you owe on, that you kind of let go and just sit there. You had a rental, an apartment, but you moved out suddenly, right? You're still obligated for the rest of the rent for that lease, right? So that's probably sitting on your credit report. Hospital bills, credit cards, different things like that. Those are large debts, and those are debts that you can focus on when you get your taxes back, paying off, getting them out the way. It's a sacrifice that you have to make, but it's worth it, right? It's worth it to be debt free. But you can pay on just the principal of your mortgage and the principal of your car loans to help pay them off faster. And so what I mean is when you have like a mortgage or a car loan, you have your principal and your interest, and that equals your total payment for the month. You still have to pay that total payment. So let's say your principal is 500 and the interest on that is 100. You still have to pay the 600 a month, but you can put 800 on there, right? So you can put 700 towards the principal and still that 100 towards the interest, and you've reduced your debt by not only the 500 in principal, but an additional 200. So you can always figure out a way to pay more on the principal each month, or as on occasions, or as frequently as you can, to help bring down the amount of that debt so you can pay it off sooner than the life cycle itself. So maybe that's a 30-year mortgage, but you're paying extra on the premium and you might knock it down to 25 years, so that's something to consider. Also be mindful, for most debts or loans, you can actually call up the lender and come up with a payment plan. In which cases, sometimes they'll be willing to reduce the overall amount of the debt that you owe, just so they can get something paid and get it off of their list of owed that you owe them, right? But you want to use this option carefully, because you don't want to regenerate like harassing phone calls to your house or cell phone. You don't want to end up going to court by getting in touch with them. Hey, they called to try to settle this and we went into an agreement and they broke it again, and they call you into court. You don't want any of that to happen. But again, when we go back to your credit report, and again, if you've never ran your credit report, it will have the debt, it'll have the company and a contact number for the company, so you can actually reach out to them to make any arrangements, find out the status or whatever. People get nervous about that, but don't be nervous about it, okay? Because again, you don't want that to come back and bite you in the bottom, because you called them and then you're not able to follow through. So once you're debt free, it's going to be important that you stay that way. So don't do all of this work just to end up back in debt. Okay? Don't do all this work just to end up spending spending way more money than you can afford, or because you have extra money, then you're starting to spend it away once again. No, That's your opportunity to save. That's your opportunity to invest and give to others. And that's what you should be focused on once you're saving, taking extra vacations with your family, stocking up on things that are necessary, maybe even investing it to have your own business and that you can continually make income off of, even if you're not doing much there. So, do you really need a car once your car is paid off? Right? So, with no debt, you can begin to save and have money aside for maintenance and repairs on this car that you paid off. So, just because you paid off your car doesn't necessarily mean you need to run off and get a brand new car the first time your car coughs. I'll just say coughs, right? You are able now, because your car is paid off, that money that you originally were using as your car note money can be set aside for maintenance and repairs for emergency reasons. So just thinking about it like that, right? Don't worry about rushing out to get a new car just because you paid yours off. Save the money and just continue to put in the maintenance and repairs on the current car. And that way you'll have some extra money saved, and then you'll be able to also get out of that debt itself. Another thing I want to say is say no to credit cards. Say no to credit cards for now and forever. Okay? Credit cards can take you into a deep, dark hole that is hard to climb out of. So keep a mindset, if you can't pay for it with cash, then you don't need it in the moment. Okay? Now, there may be those extenuating circumstances if you're responsible with credit at this point, because you've learned about budgeting and you've gotten yourself out of debt and you've established a decent pattern of being able to save and spend wisely, right? You might have an emergency credit card. You might have it with a limit. You might have it linked to your bank account so that, let's say you can't pay it, they pull it from your regular account. A responsible credit card may be okay. Another thing that's going to be important is you have to learn to make sacrifices and forego some things in order to get to this point, but it's worth it. Okay? So you have to make sacrifices. You have to forego things, right? You might always want to buy the latest purses or shoes or keep your headscarf stock up to date, whatever that means. But you may not be able to always do that while you're going through this process. Okay? It's okay. You have a closet full of clothes. Make it work. Get creative. Don't buy anything else right now. You're working on learning to budget and getting out of debt. I'm not saying you can't have a nice house. I'm not saying you can't have a nice car. And I'm not saying you really can't have the things that you want. But what I'm saying is, why would you live your life in debt to others when it's not necessary? Okay. And I do want to bring out Matthew 6:19. Lay not up yourselves treasure on earth, where moth and rust will corrupt, right? And where thieves break in and steal. So we know when we leave this place, we leave everything behind. And again, I'm not saying you can't have nice things. I'm just saying be mindful that those things are not your priority and that you're not putting yourself in debt or in bonds to have those things, because, you know, they go bad. They just sit there and get in storage somewhere because you just have too much of it. Somebody may be envious out in this cruel world and want to break in and steal it. You know, you just don't know. So just be mindful. Also, something important is don't co-sign on people's loans, because if they fail to pay the debt, you become responsible. And I am not saying your husband's, or am I? But anyway, but co-signing for someone else, like your children, and again, I have experience in this. I did it for one of my children. I end up having to pay it all off because whatever they were doing, their plans changed. Okay, lesson learned for me. I won't even do it for my other child because I learned that lesson. But do not co-sign for other people on loans, okay? Let me read Proverbs 22 and 26, which says, "Be not thou one of them that strike hands, or of them that are sureties for debt." I will say, I'm not a professional debt clearer upper person. I'm just speaking from experience, like I said. So all praises to Yahweh for that, right? For the experience and the life lessons that he's given me so that I can share this with sisters, right? But again, I don't get paid to do this, and I didn't go to school to talk about this. So I'm definitely not a professional, but I do have experience, and I've been through it, and I've resolved those issues years ago. So I've been living years debt-free. I want to end with two scriptures. The first one is Philippians 4 and 19, that says, "But Yahweh shall supply all your need according to his riches and glory by Hamashiach Yahushua," right? So, but God shall supply all your needs according to his riches and glory by Christ Jesus. Okay. And the last one is Nehemiah 5, 1 through 5, which reads, "And there was a great cry of the people and of their wives against the brethren, the Jews. For there were that said, We, our sons and our daughters are many. Therefore we take up corn for them, that we may eat and live. Some also there were that said, We have mortgaged our lands, vineyards, and houses, that we might buy corn because of the dearth. There were also that said, We have borrowed money for the king's tribute, and that upon our lands and vineyards. Yet now our flesh is as the flesh of our brethren, our children as their children, and lo, we bring into bondage our sons and our daughters to be servants, and some of our daughters are brought into bondage already. Neither is it in our power to redeem them, but other men have our lands and our vineyards." Okay. And again, this lesson was called Get Out of Debt. If you have any questions, just drop it in the comments. If you run your credit report and you have questions, you want a sister to go through it with you and just kind of help you read it and evaluate it, send a message in the chat. In the comments, and we'll be sure to reach out to you. I don't mind. Okay. So like, share, and subscribe to Chase Made, because we're here to spread the word to all sisters. All of it is related to the scripture, because that's what's important, that we follow this law, this book. So with that, I will say shalom, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and you have a good night.